Welcome to the show, Josh, from UpRoar Partners.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. I always ask a few questions about you personally first before we jump into business topics we talk
Cool.
about. So, where are you living?
So I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S. I'm from Chicago originally, and I've been here in Atlanta for about 3 years.
Okay, why Atlanta?
Business just kind of brought me and my fiance down here. She runs a business as well, and it made sense for her to be in Atlanta. My team's all remote, so I can kind of be anywhere. So we've planted our flag here in the Southeast.
Ah, cool. So it was not a big impact for you that everything like turned remote because you already were.
Yeah, crazy enough, like knock on wood, I had office space in Atlanta. And like 2 months before COVID hit, it was coming, our lease was up. And I was like, you know what? Let's move everybody out of here and just be remote so I can hire more people in a bigger pond right before COVID hit. So I tell people sometimes I predicted COVID was going to happen. So we had to move remote.
Very, very good gut feeling. Very good gut feeling.
Yeah,
Sometimes you
yeah.
have to be lucky as an entrepreneur, you
We
know.
got lucky. We got very lucky. Saved some money on the office space.
Very good. And what do you love to do outside of work?
So I am big into fitness. I like staying healthy and active and that kind of thing. I'm a big golfer. I've been golfing my entire life. So whenever I get, my getaway trips and stuff like that, or if it's not, somewhere warm at the beach relaxing, it's with the boys getting away for golf trips. So that's my outside of work leisure and
Nice.
vice.
Nice. I love golfing, but I'm not good at it.
Not many people are. I'm good sometimes and not good sometimes.
It always depends on how you define good, huh? So,
Exactly right.
we are not going to start about talking about handicap now. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, totally get it.
And now tell me about your company, UpRoar Partners, that you founded. What are you doing?
Yeah, so we go into B2B organizations, and usually these are software companies, big and small, who are having some kind of sales problem. And data has shown us over the years that the number one reason that companies have sales issues, whether that's a team or a company, is because it's a lack of pipeline. They don't have enough people that are generally interested in what they do. So we built a service offering to attack that one problem. We help companies find more prospects that are interested in talking to them, whether that's a demo of their product, an intro call. And, there's a million gurus out there that that'll write a book and tell you how to do it. We put we put a little more into it. We actually do it. Like we actually execute it. So we have all the data of how to actually do this kind of stuff. So we do a little bit of consulting work and teaching people, giving them our recipe and having them go cook it themselves. But 99% of our business is us executing on behalf of customers.
Okay, great. And what's your job at UpRoar Partners?
Yeah, I founded it 4 years ago. So, I have a great team, really good leadership team that, they're really the ones executing the day-to-day and that kind of stuff. But, I'm in charge of the vision, where we're going, making sure the culture is right, recruiting talent. So I'm doing some of that. Those are really my kind of key initiatives. And then the team is executing, bringing on new customers, making sure those customers are successful. Got a really good leadership team that's running that.
And can you tell us about the size? How many do you want to do it in terms of revenue or amount of employees?
Yeah, so we're up to 15 employees now in our fourth year.
So 50.
Well, 15.
15. Yeah.
Yep. And we're really big growth year for us. Last year was a really strategic year for us. And, we grew a little bit slower last year. COVID had a little bit of an impact on that, but really narrowing down who our perfect customer is and really getting specific with a lot of internal processes. And now we're really set to scale. So I could see us at 30 employees by the end of this year is a goal of ours. I think it's realistic.
Awesome. Yeah, I can absolutely relate to what you're saying. We had the same. So we started our company SAWOO in 2019, a little bit younger. We had good growth until COVID hit, and then there was like zero growth. So we didn't fall in terms of revenue and didn't rise, but it was tough. And from August onwards, somehow the world changed again, and since then it's running pretty well.
Good.
But we took the time as well as you did to hone in who's our really perfect customer, because we didn't know in the beginning, so you try out different things and you notice, okay, this is better than the other one, and they're converting better, and when they convert, we can help them better. So that's a big learning, because once you have that, everything else falls into place.
For sure. Yeah, 100%. And I'm an insane optimist, like maybe even to a fault sometimes. I look at the positive side of anything, including a international global pandemic. There's good things that came out of that, right? Being all these businesses that are forced to innovate and change how they're doing things. Take a look internally at, our process is correct. Do we have the right team in place? Are there ways that we can be more efficient? We learned a lot from it. We took, we came out ahead, luckily. I mean, there's a lot of companies that didn't, and it's unfortunate, but I think a lot of companies learned from it.
Yeah. And there will be winners and losers. And if you take the right action, unless you're in an unlucky industry, which we both are at least not, then you can definitely improve and accelerate out of this year.
100%.
So to be a little bit more specific, what kinds of clients do you help? So who's your ideal customer?
Yeah, it's any B2B technology company. If you're selling to businesses, and it's usually SaaS companies is mostly what we do, but we have some service-based organizations. Anybody that's struggling building it to their top of funnel, getting more cold prospects, warm leads into the top of the funnel to start that sales process. And these are really large enterprises that bring us in because they just want more bandwidth and they want to stand up a team really, really fast, or smaller companies that they need us to come in and build the strategy as well and execute. So it's really across the spectrum of sizes.
Mm-hmm. And just for everyone who maybe doesn't know it, SaaS means software as a service. So companies that sell software as a service that you can basically rent for a fixed price a month or a year.
Yep.
So when would you say does it make sense to hire a company like yours?
We always say, selfishly, it's never too early to hire us. But listen, for smaller companies, right, that are maybe they just got a round of funding, there's whatever round that may be, that they're at the place where they need to invest in sales. It's time to grow. I have product market fit. It's time to grow. There's a lot of mistakes that get made early on. You go out and hire a head of sales, a VP of sales for 150 grand a year. You're betting all your chips that guy or girl knows what he or she are doing. And to be honest, in that world, there's a lot of folks with that title that'll bounce around from company to company every year and a half, sucking some money out of it, not seeing much success and moving on. There's a lot of errors that happen. So we like to tell people we're the safest bet you got, because we've worked with 200 companies and we have tons of data that tells us what works and doesn't work. If we can't figure it out, there's not gonna be very many people that can.
Yeah. So I see a lot of similarities. It's the same for us. And that's a big advantage of a company like yours, that you have some know-how and some benchmarks, and you can help iterate, because everything is easy when the first idea hits, but if it doesn't hit, then you have to have someone who guides you towards success and who has some hypothesis that you can test. And that's, I think, a big advantage of hiring someone outside, because once you have the playbook, then I think I would assume that you can internalize it then.
Yes, 100%. And we've built that offering this year because we're getting involved with a lot more private equity firms and companies that have significant funding. And those investors typically are going to want you to own your sales operation. So what we've built is an offering now that says, hey, we'll come in for a year or so, with the goal coming in knowing we're going to hand you the keys back over after this thing, but we'll come in, build the process, build your playbook, test it as we're going, pivot it where needed, and prove it. And then we'll help you at the end, hire the right staff, hire the right team, transition the strategy back to you, and it's up and running with zero. It takes all the risk out of it.
Yeah. I see a big market there, definitely.
Yeah.
You can make so many mistakes there, and it costs you so much, not only money for the person you hire. It's a lot of additional costs that incur if you hire the wrong people that are not able to do that. And that's a skill maybe not everybody has. Maybe you have a really good VP of sales who can execute an existing playbook and then scale. But finding someone who can do the stuff that you're doing, I think that's a really good niche. And
Yeah.
I think more companies should in fact use it before they burn money somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, like just look at our resume compared to a VP of sales. Not to be bragging about us, but just as simply, if you need to build it internally, you got to have a VP of sales, and we can help you eventually get there. But you're not going to find a VP of sales that's worked with 200 companies, and that's kind of seen all the different. And listen, we weren't successful at all 200 early on, especially we failed at some and learned and failed and learned. It's hard to find a VP of sales that's been through that learning cycle that many times to bring that quality of data and insight and information to the table to give it the best shot of making you successful. Every company's different, but that background's important. Those learning lessons.
So if let's assume I have a software as a service company, either received some funding or have cash flow on hand to say, okay, now I want to, let's take my company. Now I want to scale in the United States. It's a different culture. I don't know exactly how it works. I have the money to invest. I hire you. How would it work then?
Yeah, so we would go through a knowledge transfer deep dive, basically, as a first step to that process. We have to understand and know not only your product inside and out, your offering, your service offering, or product inside and out. We need to then go reverse engineer who's your target market and who do we want to go after? What do they care about? And how can we position you in a way that's going to break through? The most difficult thing today is there's noise everywhere, right? I mean, look at your inbox right now. You probably have 100 emails in it from the time that we started this call. It's like sales reps are ruthless. Like they're everywhere. There's tons of them. So the goal is, how can we get really dialed into knowing exactly how to break through the noise? And that's a process. It's a methodology we put people through to build that right messaging, understand the psychology of the person you're trying to reach out to know how to go after them. So that's the first step.
And that we have exactly the same process for our customers. And I know that many first start out with a too broad of a market. They think, I can serve all CEOs of these and these industries. And we learned that this doesn't work. And the more narrow you can get, the more successful you will be. And that's a little bit painful in the beginning because it takes more time. But what is your take and what are your learnings there?
Yeah, so our first years of business, we played in the startup world. We were, new, so we were pretty inexpensively priced, which attracted a lot of, we were a good offering for young startups that didn't have a ton of cash, right? They're maybe bootstrapping, and we were able to help them a little bit. But the issue we often ran into was just what you said. You're exactly right. When you're new in a business, you're so passionate about what you do and you're so confident, especially if you're an engineer, about what you built, and you should be, because it's usually very good, that you think it fits everybody. You think it's perfect for everyone. But the biggest learning lesson from that was we really needed to do a better job at that time, which we do now, of teaching people that exactly what you just said. Listen, you need to pivot and position your product that it's so niche. The riches are in the niches, as annoying as that saying is, everybody says it. It's so true. I mean, nobody wants to buy a product that's meant for everybody. They want to buy a product that's meant for them, that fixes their specific problem, if you're reverse engineer your customer. So I'm with you on that. You're completely right.
So, and what's the next step, Josh? So now we have the ideal customer profile. We know the market. What's happening next?
Yep. So we have a research team that we'll send that information to and say, all right, this is the target. We're going after this level of executive that we believe might have this problem at this size company, Fortune 500 companies. We'll give it to our research team. They're going to go work their magic with all the sales tools we have, to research tools, to go find a list of the people. So we'll come back with a list saying, here's the 5,000, whatever it is, people that we think in here are some customers. And that's step 2. Step 3 is we'll build out the sales strategy of what are we going to do to try to turn those 5,000 strangers into 5,000 people that are aware of your product and are interested in hearing more about it, that we can put them into the pipeline for you.
And how do you do that?
Step 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a variety of different ways, and that's where I think the data of which we've tried so many different things, we've tried everything, that we've really narrowed down what typically works the best depending on the level of person that you're going against. So it's a customized outreach strategy depending on the level of person you're going after. But right now, what's working the most is a mix of hitting these prospects in multiple different areas, on the phone, over email, over LinkedIn, as personalized as humanly possible. So like, there's a lot there, right? That's not an easy task to do. We have a whole team that manages and runs that, but you got to be everywhere, because some prospects will never answer an email, will answer a phone call, where the next person is the opposite. So we got to be on all channels.
Yeah, that's also what we see. Multi-channel is definitely working. And that's something you said in the pre-interview. We didn't try phone yet because maybe I don't have experience there yet. But now we have some folks that we hired that are pretty good in that. So we're going to try this one. But
yeah.
I remember you saying phone is underrated.
Yeah, the phone is the deadliest weapon we got. I mean, if you can get someone on the phone, you want your sales reps trained to be converting 50% of those, at least. You need to have a winning record on the phone, at least 51%. You're winning more than you're not. And people, especially in today's world, people are working from home, they're answering their cell phones, and there's a lot of technology now out there. You can get people's cell phone numbers. So people answer the phones. Like, people who say I love when people say the cold calling is dead. Matter of fact, I'll keep spreading the message so people keep believing it, so people quit calling. So my team's the only ones calling, cleaning everything up,
Awesome. I like it. So is there a typical profile for someone who's really good on the phone, or can you train almost any decent salesperson to be good on the phone?
I believe that you can train anyone to be effective on the phone. I believe it's a very tough skill set to find people who are very good. Mm-hmm. But effective can win. I mean, effective is okay. Like, or especially earlier on, I used to work with a lot of tech founders who were engineers. And I really felt, the average engineer, I think, looks at cold calling or sales and they're intimidated by it because they think it's something that it's not. I think there's a misconception about what sales is. They feel like it's, the smoothest speaker in the room that has all this charisma, and they're like, I would never do that. That's not what sales is. Like, it's a misconception. Sales is, what we train internally is, your job as a salesperson is to be a doctor. A doctor does not walk into the room and give you a presentation about, look where I went to college and look how great I am. A doctor goes, what's going on? Like, what brings you in today? How are you? Like, your stomach hurts. Why is your stomach hurting? What's your diet like? They ask smart questions and reverse engineer pain to solve it. Engineers are the best people on the planet to do that. So really, I believe that an engineer could really be the best salesperson if they just saw it in a different light.
Yeah, definitely. It's a mindset thing. So I am new to sales somehow. So it was not my goal to have a company that's in the sales area or sales enablement area. But what I noticed is, if you have, for us, it's the mindset of we want to help. And if you go into a call or any conversation, even like if you write potential clients with the intention of I want to help and give value, that's somehow something that on the one hand takes pressure off people, like from our side, and on the other hand somehow you can sense and feel it. I don't know if that's true, but I believe that it's kind of the case.
100%. Listen, I've only known you now for a couple calls, right? A total of 30 minutes. But I can tell just from my brief interaction with you that you're the kind of guy I feel like I can trust. You're a genuine guy. You're not going to take advantage of someone or me, or I could trust you. You actually care about, whatever we're talking about. So if I put you up against some bully salesperson who's, got all these smooth tactics, no one trusts that person. Like, you will be 10 times more effective than that person every day of the week. I'll take the trustworthy person first every time.
Thanks a lot. Now I'm super red
no
now.
Pressure.
You don't see it in the light, but
no pressure, by the way.
Yeah, Josh, amazing. So if you would have some advice for someone who wants to try cold calling with his company and wants to use his own salespeople to give it a shot, what would you tell them?
you need to find out, you have to have a cold calling methodology that you train to your people, and you teach it and train it, reinforce it with live role playing. So at our organization, all of our sales reps, they're required every week to be role playing with senior people and management. Let's practice your cold call, practice dealing with objections, practice your call to action, and we'll throw scenarios at them so that, you know, it's like training for in the military. Before you go to battle, let's make sure you know exactly what's happening so you know how to react in the real world in a safe environment. We'll practice it. And then the third thing is, we have technology internally that when we can, we like to record live calls so that we can go back and review, oh, hey, how'd that call go in the real scenario? So it's kind of like watching film for a sports team. So it's train the methodology and then reinforce it with making sure that you're analyzing how it's going.
Yeah, it's like NFL, national football.
Yeah,
you have
seriously.
to have a playbook. You know, you have to train the playbook, and then you have to watch the film afterwards and see what's working, what's not.
That's exactly
I like
right.
it a lot. So, in terms of methodology, is this something where you say, if you're a starter, that's something you should look into?
Yeah. So if you don't have a methodology that you've tested and used over your career, find one. You know, find someone that you believe you can trust. That's like, hey, you've been cold calling for years, or, you know, there's sales trainers around, and I'm always skeptical a little bit of the guru world, right? You know, there's a lot of people that claim that they teach and train everything, but have you ever actually done it? That's the first thing I look at, right? So look for someone that's got a background in sales that seems to have a proven record of success, and see what their methodology is for cold calling.
What is your methodology?
So that could be an hour top. That's an hour question, 1 hour long question. But at the end of the day, high level is this: our jobs as salespeople is to connect with human beings. People buy from people. So the whole idea of creating a script and creating robots on the phone is the number one thing we have to get away from. We need to be empathetic. We need to connect emotionally, and we need to build relationship when possible on the phone. That's the number one thing that we have to do. Number two would be get really clear on the simplicity of the problem that you solve and bring that up on the call. If you're having this problem, we solve it. And then third would be really clear on what the call to action is. You have to have a clear next step. So, hey, here's what we do. We're connecting personally. You have these problems. We solve it. Here's quickly how we do it. If that's of interest to you, what's the next step? You want to hop on a call for a demo or whatever that schedule is. So break it down simply like that. Those are kind of the three main areas we look at. Okay.
And how long does this, I mean, this is the case, you're cold calling someone. So that person doesn't know anything about you and your company. Very likely that's a very short first call, because it's not scheduled.
Yeah.
So you have a couple of minutes at most. So you hop in. What's the first, just to get some, what's the first thing you say?
Yeah, so I mean, you introduce yourself. Listen, this is taken right from John Costigan, is who really had a big impact on our. I don't know if you heard of that name before. He's a big sales trainer in the U.S. and internationally. I mean, all of Oracle's reps, like a lot of these big Fortune 100 companies, he trains them. I happen to know him personally, so he trains our reps. We have access to his online stuff. I would check it out. It's a great methodology. His take is, we need to not sound like salespeople. Here's what every sales rep on the planet does. Hey, is this Tom? Hey, Tom, Josh calling from UpRoar Partners. How you doing today? Sales call, like walls go. Nobody wants to get called by a salesperson. So walls go up.
Ooh, absolutely.
So our job is, every sales rep does it though. Hey, my name is, I'm calling from boom. So we take a different approach. We just introduce our names, and we want them to feel like, and this is straight from John Costigan, we want this person to feel like when they hear from us, to be like, did I take an Uber with you last weekend? Like, am I supposed to know you? So we'd say, hey, it's Josh Mastel. How's it going? They're like, good. Who is this? Oh, hey, just Josh calling from this company, by the way. It's very personal, very casual. Their guard is down as opposed to the defensive. This is a sales rep. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. I love your, also the mindset that you take to this whole thing, to build personal connections and relationships with people, because I mean, we do the same in written conversations. And we also want to create this relationship of trust and giving something for free before you ask for anything, and really something of value, not like here's a white paper that we created 5 years ago, but something that really, really gives a lot of value, and that builds a long-term trusted relationship, because in the end, you don't want to burn through your whole target market. And then in the end, you have like this 1-2% conversions, and the rest says, I will never want to hear from you again. So I really like what you're doing there. That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and listen, when we cold call, and this goes throughout our emails too, right? There's nothing pushy and aggressive about it. If someone says no to us, hey, not interested, not having that problem right now, they're gonna have a good taste in their mouth. So we're never burning a lead, right? We may still hit that person up a year from now, 6 months from now, and they're not gonna immediately when they hear from us be like, oh, I remember hating these guys. It's a good impression.
Yeah, cool. Learned a lot already. Love it.
Oh, good.
So you saw, let's stick with the software as a service companies as your target clients. Do you see a pattern of what kind of companies you can help better or are more successful compared to others? So are there some characteristics where you say, if I see these, I already know, boom, we definitely can help them?
Yeah, so it goes around deal size. So if you're a software company that's selling a product that your annual deal size, your ACV, is at least 30,000 and above, it starts to make sense to use a company like us, because we're not cheap. And you have to reverse engineer, okay, if one customer is worth $30,000 and I close 3 of every 10 meetings that I have, a 30% conversion rate, how much can I afford to pay for those 10 meetings to be profitable? You can reverse engineer the math to know that the cost of a meeting to you is justified. So anything lower than $30,000 a year tends to start being like, wow, those guys are pretty expensive. Math doesn't work out.
Yeah, love it. I mean, that's basically what we do in our pitch when we sell. We did exactly that. This is the amount of leads you can expect. This is what we cost. Cost per lead is this. If you close X%, this is the cost per customer. This is why, in our case, customer lifetime value should be above 40,000. So it's not that far away. But yeah,
nice.
Good service costs something, and I absolutely, it's working wonders.
Good.
What's working for us, I don't know if you do it. What we are saying is, if you close one client out of these around 50, 60 calls you get from us, you already paid our whole service for the whole year. So this is the last step. That this one slide is super simple, but that's where you see like the aha moment of the non-mathematician saying, okay, do I believe that I can close 2%? If yes, that's a good investment.
Yeah, and if no, then there's a bigger problem.
Yeah,
I mean, you should be closing more than 2% of your deals.
Yeah. I mean, if someone doesn't have confidence there, then definitely don't go with anyone helping you to sell.
Exactly right. Yeah, let's go pivot first.
Yeah, definitely. So what's your take on measuring success of a salesperson?
I mean, results matter, right? At the end of the day, sales is a results-driven business. So now we tell our people, I've been managing salespeople my entire career, and I've had the very good fortune of, as a young professional early in sales, working for, in my opinion, some of the best sales managers on the planet that have ever walked this earth. And they taught me everything that I know. So I feel like I'm a really good sales manager because of that. And as important as results are, I judge 2 things. There's 2 things in the game you can control. One is how hard you work, and the other is your attitude. And if you're working hard and you have the right attitude means, you're you're positive. You have an attitude of wanting to continually get better. You want to achieve. You want to learn from other people, and you're willing to put the work in. If the results aren't there yet, you're good. Because I know over time, if you stay on that course, you will be successful. So where I think a lot of sales managers make mistakes is they say, your results aren't there. What's going on? You're doing something wrong. And they don't give enough time for people to become successful. So those are the only 2 areas that we really look at. I'll keep an employee for years if they're not perfectly successful yet, but they have the right attitude and they have the right work ethic, because then it's on me to make sure I'm just training them to be effective enough and efficient enough to be successful.
And I mean, is it a gut feeling that you have in terms of attitude? How do you like pinpoint it? That
No,
you say, yeah.
it's black and white to me. I mean, when I call and check in on you and say, how's it going? Is your answer, oh, this is so hard, I'm getting beat up? Or are you saying, hey, I'm not having a great day yet, but I'm working hard, I know it's gonna come? And are you going out of your way to do things to learn? Are you reaching out and doing more role plays than the rest of the people on the team? Are you reading books on your free time? Are you doing things? These are things that are in your control to go get better and to care. That's usually pretty black and white to me.
Interesting. Next question now. So how is your hiring process looking like then?
Yeah, so we look for a track record of those things. So those are two of our values as a company, right? We work hard here and it's not easy. Sales is hard. So attitude's important. We have good attitudes here. We're positive here. And we have good character. So like we really just interview off of those things that we know and those expectations of what it takes to be successful. We interview off that, and we look for people who, interviewing's hard. Hiring's hard because everyone can say in an interview they work hard. Everyone can say in the interview they have a good attitude, but you don't really know if someone has a good attitude until they get punched in the chin.
Especially as you talk to salespeople. I mean, that's something at least they should be able to sell themselves. Yeah.
100%. So here, my magic token to interviewing salespeople is to ask. You can't give layup questions. If you give layup questions, you get layup answers, right? So tell me about your work ethic. What you think he's going to say? Oh, I'm lazy. I'm lazy on Mondays because I go get drunk on Sundays watching soccer games, right? They're not going to say that. So what I like to ask is situational questions from their past. Hey, almost every one of my questions starts with, hey, give me an example of a time you had a situation at work where you failed. You thought you were like going to do well. You had a task to do, but it did not go well. You failed. Tell me about that. And they'll tell me the story. And then I'll dig into, okay, what'd you learn from that? So you're getting the real life scenario of what actually the person actually liked from their past. That to me has been the biggest help for us in everything.
Yeah, love it. I mean, you're going in this direction of, I always forget the name of the book. Give me 2 seconds and I tell you. It's SAWOO, the A Method for Hiring from Geoff Kaufman. And what he basically is doing is exactly what you said. You ask situational questions. And in case of a salesperson, you basically ask for references of clients, people they basically want as clients. And if they're super fast in serving up, yeah, sure, I give you 10, 20, 30, okay, this is not a bullshitter. He did a great job. And he also won the right clients and not the wrong clients for that company. So the clients were happy as well. And if they're struggling, then that's maybe not that good.
Yeah. 100%. That's really great advice. I mean, and for us, what's challenging is we hire young professionals. So, we hire, my background has been, I've hired hundreds of college grads, zero experience.
Okay,
that's difficult. That's difficult because there is no track record, right? There is no, college didn't make you, didn't test you. So it's really, you're really got to dig in and try to have a gut instinct of what are you really made of, which can be difficult. And then your job is really to train and develop and mentor. That's more of the game.
So you still ask similar questions, but not sales related, very likely, if they didn't have any sales. Yeah.
Yep. Give me an example in your life when you got punched in the face. Something happened that was not expected. It was hard. How'd you deal with it? What was your attitude like? Here's another great question. Hey, continual improvement is one of our values, right? At this company, you're going to be out of place if you're not talking about things that you're always trying to do to get better. You want to improve in this area. So everyone's like, oh yeah, I love that. I'm big into that self-improvement too. Okay. What are you doing right now what are you doing to improve? What area of your life you're trying to improve? And you'll see some people go, or some people, or some people will be like, well, I read a lot of books. Cool. What book are you reading right now? You get a good grasp of if they're bullshitting you or not,
Yeah, love it. Yeah, but we also hire pretty young people and we see a lot of success. Maybe also because we have a simple playbook in sales, so it's not complicated sales in a sense. But what we also see is that people that have some grit, you know, and they can show it in whatever capacity. It can be sports or some other hobby or something, but they just, you see, they are really passionate about it and they really dig deep. That's where we see like this passion, most of the times at least, translating also into the job, not always, of
100%.
course.
100%. Agreed.
So let's jump into a totally different topic. In the pre-interview, you mentioned that you really dislike pointless automation. So what is pointless automation for you?
Pointless automation is
in sales, of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's any form of communication, phone, email, an ad, LinkedIn touch that isn't relevant to the person that you're talking to. So I think a lot of people feel like, hey, this is my sales message. I'm going to send it out to everybody. And if it doesn't apply specifically to the person, if you put yourself in their shoes when they're reading it, then it's pointless noise to me, and it does not work. It doesn't make any impact. And I feel like, our inboxes are proof to it. I mean, how many times do we get hit a day where we're like, why would anyone in the world send me that? Like, why? You have no clue who I am or what I do. You didn't do any research. Obviously, this is pointless.
Yeah.
That to me is dead automation. I hate it.
Yeah. I think almost everybody hates it. But so many people still do it, you know, and that's kind of interesting. And I also think that it will not work in the future that well anymore. I mean, in Europe, at least, GDPR is really making it hard to cold email someone, for example. So that's almost impossible. There's a legal, very gray area if you still do it. So it's not illegal per se, but it's really, really tough. You know, you're betting something on it. So that's better now. So I, in fact, don't get many cold emails anymore. But on LinkedIn, that's happening now more and more. And I think not as much as in the United States, but it will get there, definitely.
100%. Yep. And the reason is, listen, the average person, call it as it is lazy. The average person wants the easy way out to grow their business, to make sales, to lose weight, to whatever it is. Like that, we're humans, right? We want the least path of resistance, and it's easy to load 10,000 email addresses into a tool, type up 3 emails, and hit send, and think that you're doing something positive. But it's a quick fix. It might get you minimal results. It's not going to work long term.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm calling myself out. We used to do it at scale. When I first started the business, we did a lot of it. Blasted emails, we did all of it. And I learned firsthand that it doesn't work. It just won't work.
Yeah. Yeah. That's also tying to how do you measure your salespeople? If it's only by activity, that's what you get. If you measure activity, you get activity. And well, if it's amount of people you reached out to, well, then you use an automation tool and blast out thousands of messages and say, hey, I did a great job. Yeah.
I did a great job. Yep.
So instead of fully automating everything, what should you do manually?
Well, this is the game, right? This is where I feel like there's going to be a technology disrupt. And this is where I feel like there's companies who have an opportunity to really set themselves apart right now. While everybody else is going left and just going all in on all this blasting activity automation, there's an opportunity to go right and to drastically increase quality, which means you're hitting less people, but you're hitting them specifically. So you're doing research on prospects, right? You're understanding what's important to them. You're trying to connect with them in a way through doing a little bit of research on each person. The difficulty there is, if you do too much research and you only hit up 5 people in a day, that's not going to be enough. So like there's a perfect kind of balance there that we're still working on and figuring out of where does quality meet quantity. And I think, I don't know what the answer is, but I think there is a technology disruption play there at some point to help make personalization easier for salespeople at scale.
So if you could wish for a kind of software tool that helps you do this whole personalization faster and better, what should that tool be able to do for you?
Man, I think it would be I could see AI doing the research for my sales rep, saying, hey, here's the criteria of things I would like to know about a prospect before I reached out to them. go find all those for me and present them to me in a way that I can quickly use those, hey, you were on a podcast last week and you mentioned these things that, that stuck out to me. Using an information like that in an email. If someone emailed me tomorrow that was trying to sell me something and said, hey, I heard you on a podcast last week, you mentioned blah, 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 blah. It really was impactful to me and I wanted to reach out to you and have a conversation. I'm taking a call with that person, even if I have zero interest in their tool, because I respect their sales game. So that at scale through technology could be an interesting play.
Yeah, I would love to use that tool too. Definitely.
Yeah.
Or at least what you can do is outsource. That's what we're doing, for example, outsource this task to cheaper labor.
Sure.
So that you get that information, but don't have to pay like expensive sales reps to do that research. Yeah.
Exactly right.
So I assume that there's still a place for automation or for tools. So what kind of tools are you heavily using in your organization?
Yeah, so what we use automation for, so we use HubSpot internally, and what the automation that I like in there is cadencing abilities. So sales, sales loft, those kind of tools, outreach will allow you to do these. And basically, to me, what it does is it organizes a salesperson's day. So a salesperson that called a prospect 4 days ago that needs to do appropriate follow-up isn't going to remember to do that on his own. So putting them on this conveyor belt, so to speak, or this treadmill, that they show up to work and just do the tasks that we've already predetermined are smart in that strategy. That's where automation to me is really important. I don't even know if you call it automation. It's tasking, right? It's
like a workflow tool, so to say.
It's workflow. It's a workflow tool. Exactly right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Then what was your recent aha moment in sales? So something where you said, wow, you learned something, or that totally switched the way you think about sales in the last couple of months?
The power of marketing. So historically, I've been a marketing hater, and I have justification for it. I think marketing agencies, not all of them, I think a very large majority of marketing agencies in the US, especially, it's all I know, are full of shit. And they rob people and they're dishonest, and I want to go to war with them. So I've historically hated marketing, right? I've been like, I'm a sales guy. I know sales. I don't need marketing, whatever. I'm now starting to learn the power of it. We brought on a really sharp CMO that's helping us with some of our internal marketing. And the way I look at marketing now, that's been an aha moment for me, is air support for your sales reps. So when our sales reps are reaching out to specific prospects, those prospects have been being warmed up for the last couple of weeks with marketing, with information, with value-added insights, so that when they hear from a sales rep, it's not cold. It's like subconscious. Oh, well, I kind of know this company. I've heard of you guys. That has been an aha moment for me, that we're early in the stages of it, but it's looking like it's going to be working pretty well.
Yeah, love what you're saying, and absolutely can relate to your general notion. I think there's always good and bad apples,
Sure.
but I also saw a lot of bad apples, people who are really good at selling, and in the end they say, but you cannot measure. We do stuff, you spend this, but hey, I cannot like guarantee anything. And in the end, I most of the time didn't see results, and that's something I really, really didn't like. And in the end, I think the way you put it is nice, but you can measure that. You can say, okay, I do an outreach without and an outreach with air support, as you said, marketing, so to say, and let's see if something has a positive impact. Because if not, you have to change something. Then it's not working.
100%. Totally agree.
Yeah. Let's hope this changes a little bit for the whole. I think there's a place for marketing agencies that understand that, and that say, hey, I know that it's not easy to measure, but we help you at least make it like measurable what we do, and in best case maybe even have some part of the retainer or whatever they want to have as a compensation tied to results in some way, because then you are aligned.
100%. So I see us building out a very large marketing team internally over time, and my marketing team will be compensated the same way as my sales team is. They are the same thing. They both have the same goals, which is to drive revenue. When you tell marketing your job is to drive leads, it's the same way as telling a sales rep your job is to have activity. Because anyone can go find some kind of leads, but if they're all trash that don't matter, it's actually a double negative. Because not only do we think we're successful because it looks like we're successful on paper, you just wasted a bunch of sales time talking to leads that don't matter. So you're right. There needs to be accountability in a different way. And I think it's how much revenue did you generate through your sales campaign or marketing campaign?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like these overlapping KPIs that we have between teams. So you have the marketing and sales overlapping. If you're an organization that like has sales in-house, you have sales and customer success overlapping, and then you should have overlapping KPIs that make sense so that people are aligned. And then you don't have sales fighting against marketing. Then you have sales saying, hey, cool that I have the support and they are tied to my success. And if I'm successful, they're successful. If not, they're not.
100%.
So for example, it could also happen that marketing is doing a great job, but sales just doesn't close good enough. And then maybe marketing says, hey guys, I'm pretty sure that those leads are good. What's happening? So what's missing?
100%.
Do we need better content or whatever, you know? It starts a conversation if you have people aligned on the same KPIs here.
Completely agree. And that happens, by the way, all the time too. So I'm not just against marketing at all. I love marketing. I'm starting to love it more and more. I'm harder on salespeople than anyone on the planet. Like if you got good leads and you're dropping the ball and blowing it, like I got marketing's back to the end of the day. So yeah, you're 100% right. Both people need to be accountable to the same success.
Yeah, cool. Josh, we are already at the finish line and we have 5 rapid fire questions for the end.
Yeah, bring it. Love it.
Okay. What do you do to keep body and mind fit and sharp?
So Google the challenge 75 hard. I'm currently doing that. I'm in day 35 of it.
What is it?
75 hard is a mental discipline challenge. A guy wrote a book on it, forget his name. Basically, it's these 5 things you have to do every day for 75 days. If you miss one of them, any day you start over. Gallon of water a day, 2 45-minute workouts. One of them needs to be outside. You have to commit to a diet plan, whatever you're doing. So I'm eating paleo right now. 10 pages of a book, read 10 pages of a book, and no alcohol for 75 days.
And you see results?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, for sure. I'm feeling really, really good. I'm halfway through almost, feeling really, really good right now. It's a really fun challenge. I'm getting married in about 90 days. So I'm doing like this challenge leading up to the wedding to get in good shape and stuff. But I do things like that a lot. And I challenge a lot of people to like find a cool challenge, find something that you hate to do or you think you're scared to do and commit to it, do it. Like, I mean, that stuff pushes me mentally and physically. That keeps me going.
Yeah, absolutely get it. I mean, I'm doing triathlon, for example. So you already
Nice.
have a day-to-day sport, but my hard thing is my wife is Tunisian. I'm half Tunisian, North Africa. So they speak Arabic, and I understand, like I would say 60%, but I never learned it and never learned writing, you know. And that's something I do daily now with an app and with her. So that was tough, but now once you do it and you get used to it, it's somehow missing if you don't do it. So that's nice.
Nice. I love that. It's cool.
Your favorite business book?
Atomic Habits.
I put it into the show notes. I know it. Yeah.
It's great.
Favorite business leader you follow?
3 that I really respect: Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, Elon Musk.
Why each one of them?
I think Gary Vee just understands the world like nobody else on the planet and calls it like it is. I think Grant Cardone is a really great source of understanding how to use money to create wealth and basic sales skills. And Elon Musk's his vision of the future is something we should all take something from. He may be crazy, and people may think he's crazy, and maybe he is, but I love it.
Yeah, well, if you have an opinion that is absolutely against what everybody else is thinking, you are crazy by definition somehow, and that's what you have to be if you do stuff like he does.
100%.
Who should be our next podcast guest and why?
Get Elon.
Elon. I'm gonna try.
Shoot for the stars. Get one of those three guys.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try.
I love it.
And now you can directly address our audience. Anything that they and we can help you with.
Oh, great question. You know what? I don't think so. I mean, you know, I'm passionate about the topic of sales. I'm more passionate about everyone doing their part in the world to be the change that they want to see in it. So if you want it starts with us in our own communities, our own companies, our own relationships. Let's make the world a bit of a better place every single day and start with yourself. Instead of getting on Facebook and negatively commenting on everything that you see. Start by changing your own life. That would be
very good. Very good. And last one, where can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, UpRoar, www.uproarpartners.com or Josh Mastel, Mastel. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Those are two great places. We put a bunch of content out on LinkedIn. I'm always putting videos up and stuff like that of just things that we're learning. So that's where you get in touch.
Okay, we put it into the show notes. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Yeah,
Josh.
man. This is awesome. I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Take care.